Welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show right here on 1130 The Tiger. Pleased to have you with us, and we are so excited to welcome our next guest, about to be a newly crowned member of the BBQ Hall of Fame. What honors has this guy not won yet? I don't think there are any left for him to win. And by the way, while you're at it, he's also a heck of a nice guy. I had a chance to run into him once, and he could not have been nicer for a guy that has his stature in the world of barbecue. From Franklin BBQ in Austin, Texas, the Godfather of Texas BBQ, he is Aaron Franklin. Aaron, how are you, man?
I'm doing super good. How are you doing?
Man, I am fantastic. Let's start off with kind of some serious news, because all of the guests we have on, we're a very guest-driven show. All the guests we have on, we always ask them about, how you're handling all this coronavirus stuff, what's going on. And I saw an announcement from your business that this one has hit a little bit home for you. Kind of tell me what's going on and what precautions y'all are taking down there with what's happening.
Well, I assume you're talking about the fact that we closed Franklin BBQ Day for a week.
Right.
Or longer. Yeah. So, well, I mean, obviously Austin has seen a crazy spike in cases. I mean, we went from up until last week, our highest day had been 88 cases. And last weekend we got like 520 cases in one day. So it's really through the roof. And at Franklin BBQ, unfortunately, we had a dishwasher that kind of felt a little tired last Tuesday a week ago. Went home, realized he had a fever. He didn't come back to work after that. And then he got tested, and his test results came back in yesterday. So he did test positive. So we're shutting her down and, getting everybody tested, and everybody's taking a little break.
It's interesting because these are really, you've been through a lot. You've had a fire at your place before. You had your
unintentional fire.
Yeah, right.
Too.
You didn't have I mean, what are you, an arsonist? You're setting intentional fires out here? I mean, you've had to deal with a fire back in your pit room. You've had to deal with some expansion. Obviously, we know about the lines, all of that stuff. You've dealt with a lot. What's this been like, trying to respond in real time to something that is so unusual as this coronavirus?
Oh, man, it's such a doozy because, at the restaurant, what we've been doing for quite a while, and we had switched to curbside before it was mandatory in Austin. We were a little ahead of the curve on that, but it's so hard to make decisions when you don't have reliable data to base your decisions on. And then every couple of days, things change, and this happens, and this happens. But even, since we started doing the curbside stuff, we log everybody's body temperatures when they come in. All the delivery guys have to get checked before they enter the building. Everybody wears face masks. I mean, we're really been super duper careful. And apparently that wasn't quite enough. And I feel like we've really done a super job on keeping everybody safe, and everybody feels safe around there. But yeah, I mean, this thing's super wacky. Who knows what to expect?
Well, and I keep telling everyone, and I know you're going to close down for a week, and who knows, maybe open back up then, or if you need to take more precautions, you will. But I've told everyone, honestly, if there's a time to get your barbecue, this is it, right? If you can get a trip to Austin done, not this week, obviously, but if this is, if there's been a good time to get Franklin BBQ, this is the one, because I've stood in your line twice, and I didn't make it in time. So,
that stinks.
No, it does. But I don't feel bad for myself. I knew what I was getting into. So, and I just chose not to go early enough. That's on me. But at the same time, this is kind of a good time when you reopen. You're doing carry out. Hey, this would be a great time to go get you some Franklin BBQ because the line doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's very true. And we've been doing the curbside thing for about 4 months now. And man, it's really, you get on the website. We did the software on the website for the commerce stuff, and you can order everything. You order it 3 days out, and then we cut it off 24 hours in advance because obviously we have to cook it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. It is totally a great time. It's logistically working out really, really good.
By the way, that's franklinbbq.com. When everything opens back up, and if you get a chance, I'm definitely making a pilgrimage down there at some point. I've got quite a few friends down there that I know that I can hang out with that are definitely going to make sure I get hooked up. We're talking to Aaron Franklin from Franklin BBQ in Austin. All right, let's back up now. Let's talk about some happier subjects. Let's talk about
finally.
Let's start with how you got into this. You know, that you don't just walk into barbecue. Typically, it's not something that, you just walk in and you start up a restaurant. You have to begin somewhere. You're influenced by someone. You're doing something in the backyard. Tell me how you got into this.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I started cooking barbecue about 17 years ago, something like that. So it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, I mean, like any good Texan, you pretty much make a brisket and invite your friends over and hang out on a Saturday afternoon or something like that. So really, it started like that. And I quickly realized that I have just absolutely loved staring at a fire, and it really gave me a chance to get super nerdy on stuff. And I kind of like to dissect things, and I like to really kind of dive in and do things the best I can. And, barbecue just kind of seemed like the endless quest, for an oddball kind of knowledge to have.
Mm-hmm.
But, the romance of staring at a fire for hours and hours and, really trying to make this taste like this or this texture like this and the firewood like this. And, it's kind of, the more you learn, the more you want to learn kind of deal. So it really kind of struck a nerve with me. And then from that point on, it took us about 7 years before we opened up the trailer. And that opened up a little over 10 years ago. It'll be 11 years December, I guess. Yeah. And then really just one thing led to another. Started having an annual backyard barbecue, and a lot of people started showing up, and bought a trailer, fixed it up in the backyard, parked it at a friend's coffee roaster place. Did that for about a year, and then rented a space for a restaurant and moved in. And I guess most of that has been fairly well documented.
You brought something up that I'm always interested in with pitmasters, because there is a very real science to this, but there's also sort of a sorcery to it as well.
Oh, yeah. And I love that. I think that's my favorite part of barbecue, is that you learn all this stuff and you kind of get these little hunches and you get these ideas, and then you get to back them up with science. I love that. Have you cooked a perfect brisket? No, I don't think so.
God, I love that. That's what I love. You're like coaches in that way. I deal in the world of sports. A coach has never.
Well, I'm not wearing the shorts though. That's for sure.
You don't wear the short shorts. Those are not good. You want to wear the long shorts. But it's interesting because coaches never coach a perfect game. You ask them, they'll beat somebody 70-0, and there's something that they can harp on and something they can critique. After all of this time and all the awards and the adulation and everything, do you still look at things and go, man, this wasn't quite right, this wasn't quite right? Are you still critiquing yourself at that kind of level?
Oh, absolutely. Probably more so now than ever. I feel like my job is just turned into being, our own critique. Everything I look at, it's like, oh, we got to make this better. Oh, there's a smudge on that window. Oh, the pepper, little bit of a bald spot there. So yeah, I definitely am always looking to improve.
Talking to Aaron Franklin from Franklin BBQ. Are you comfortable being called kind of the Godfather and the guy that sort of, I guess, cued the renaissance of Texas barbecue? Are you okay with that, or is that a mantle you don't like?
It is a huge honor for somebody to say that, but man, it really makes me feel uncomfortable.
I get it.
I don't really like to talk about myself. and that was like, hey, you did this. Like, oh gosh, okay, thanks.
Tell me about getting the call for the BBQ Hall of Fame.
Well, I found out, man, actually, I guess Daniel Vaughn maybe mentioned it. It's like, hey, this happened.
Oh, by the way.
I knew about the nomination. I think Daniel told me. And then when Greg Rempe announced it, he texted me to let me know if I'd won or not.
That's a beautiful thing, man. It really is. It's a great honor.
It's super cool.
Well, and to me, and this is what I love about, I don't cook barbecue. I eat it and I judge it, but I don't cook it. I don't have the patience for that.
Oh, we got to work on that.
No. I don't. Maybe one day when I'm old and gray and don't have anything else to do. But right now, I don't have the patience to sit around and mind a fire for that long. I can't do it. I don't have that switch in me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I do anymore either. I have the patience, but man, I haven't been in one place for 12 consecutive hours in 10 years.
Well, that brings me to an interesting point, because there are a lot of places. We always go to Jefferson to Riverport Barbecue. My good friend Stephen Joseph over there. Yeah. I go see him a lot. That's the closest place. I'm in Louisiana, where we don't have good barbecue, really, especially in Northwest Louisiana. So I go to Texas to get my barbecue. And when I go over there, he's pretty much the guy minding the store. Have you gotten to the point now where you can let go of it in some regards and let other people handle things and feel that you're going to still have the quality product that you demand?
That is a really slippery slope, and that's proven to be probably one of the more tricky things over the last 10 years. Is that not right now because it's all this Corona stuff going on and things are really weird. But under normal circumstances, I'm there every day. I might not necessarily be cooking everything because if I'm cooking, I'm not checking emails. If I'm not checking emails, I'm not doing this. And there's just too many businessy things that have to happen. So I don't get the luxury to just hunker down and cook like I used to, but I'm definitely still there. And I definitely can tell if I go on a trip or I'm gone for 3 or 4 days, I can come back and kind of be like, oh, why is the mustard on that shelf? That's weird. Like, it's just not, it doesn't quite jive. So I think the dynamic of me there keeps it good and keeps everybody kind of communicating and everything. Even though I'm not physically the guy cooking it, I'm still the old guy with a cup of coffee in the morning. Be like, hey, your fire's too fast. I guess you have to be somewhat OCD to run a barbecue restaurant. Is that fair? Did we lose him? Hello? Are you there?
Oh, there we go. All right, we got you back. Do you have to be somewhat OCD to kind of run a barbecue restaurant?
I don't think. I think it helps probably, and it's weird because I didn't really start off kind of OCD and super hyper detailed on everything, but I quickly realized that I had to become that way to make the barbecue the way that it needed to be.
What's next? You've written a book. You've done a master class. Obviously you have a very successful restaurant. Is there an area that you have not yet conquered that you want to?
I don't know that conquer is the right word for it, but right now I'm super busy at the welding shop, getting these backyard barbecue pits up and running.
Mm-hmm.
We're producing every day. All the robots and arms and welding machines and everything's in full force. And we're building out the crating area right now. So I guess the barbecue pit is kind of what I'm mostly working on right now.
Well, that's one of the interesting things in your book, which I was gifted for Christmas a couple of years ago, is you kind of go from stem to stern. It's like, hey, you need to build a grill. Here's how to build a pit. And then here's how to slice the brisket. Here's how to cook it. I mean, if you want to go from the top to the bottom, your book is really an encyclopedia of that.
Well, that's awesome. That makes me feel really good to hear you say that. That's what we hoped it would be.
Well, it certainly is. Talking to Aaron Franklin from Franklin BBQ, Godfather of Texas BBQ. By the way, Jordan Wright from Wright's BBQ in Fayetteville, Arkansas said hi, Dad, to you, just so you know. And,
that's sweet.
And that brings me to another point, and that is being able to mentor other pitmasters. I have a friend, Blake Stoker, in Martin, Tennessee, who's got a food truck where he's doing Texas barbecue in Northwest Tennessee. You just don't see it. That's pork. That's Memphis stuff. But he's doing brisket and whatnot up there. How much are you in demand? How many people reach out to you especially folks that are trying to get into the business as pitmasters? How much are people reaching out to you to try to see if you'll mentor them in some way?
Not as many as they used to contact us. A lot of people used to email and call for see if they could stage or if they could pay us for them to come hang out. And really, our restaurant's just not set up for that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much go time, 24 hours a day. But usually what I do is I'll just kind of get on the phone with somebody and I'll just let them pick my brain. Or if somebody's coming through town, maybe they could swing by for a beer in the afternoon. And, if you got any questions, I'll help you as much as I can. If you run into a problem at your restaurant, give me a holler. Maybe I've dealt with it before. But outside of that, I don't really do too much. And I guess maybe most people don't really call us. There's so many people out there that are willing to accept money to try to mentor someone that I think, they probably get the gig way sooner than we do.
Right. And but that's one of the cool things, I think, aspect of barbecue is the welcoming community that it is among the pitmasters. It feels like, anyway. I may be wrong, but it feels like it's a pretty welcoming community.
I mean, I don't think it used to be that way. I think competition has always kind of been that way.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look back at like old barbecue restaurants, like, oh, don't tell that guy what the secret sauce is, and everybody was like, because everybody was competition. But I think, it shouldn't be that way. And I don't think it is that way anymore. I think people are really, it is much more of a community.
Did you have a mentor, or was this just something you tinkered with enough at your home that you kind of got where you went? But did you go visit any places? Did you do any of that a lot of these kids coming up today are doing?
No. In fact, I'm incredibly stubborn, and I'm the guy that won't look at the instruction sheet from IKEA. I have to figure it out myself. I have to fail a few times or more. And man, I'm just so stubborn. I was really specific to not have any outside influence. I wanted to figure it out. I wanted to stumble. And because I didn't want anything we did to be knocking off anyone else. And what they did, I wanted it to come from the heart, and I wanted to just figure out the systems and stuff. And, it took us a little longer to get there. But at least it's ours. And I'm just way too stubborn in that way.
Does it then make it strange when so many people are trying to copy what you do?
I guess. I really don't pay much attention to it. I'm not super sure. But to be fair, I did put out YouTube videos and a masterclass and book. So,
I mean, you're teaching people.
If I was annoyed that people copied us, that would be pretty absurd.
Right. That would be. It's interesting that, you had the sort of stubborn streak. You were going to learn it on your own. You're a nerdy guy. You wanted to figure all that out. And now just the opposite. Now you're sort of the master teaching all of the young Padawans out there. I just find that sort of an interesting dichotomy.
Yeah, and I just realized that is pretty interesting.
Well, there you go. Look, I'm
here. I learned something new every day.
Look, they call me Mr. Know-It-All for a reason, Aaron. So that's what we're here for.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
There you go. You're quite welcome.
Oh yeah.
Talking to Aaron Franklin from Franklin BBQ. All right, had a guy that texted in, wanted to know, what do you think about sous vide cooking?
I think it's really cool for textures, and I think it's a really cool way to par cook a bunch of food for a lot of people. My only problem with it is that you don't really get any flavor from your fuel. You don't really get any flavor from, a hot skillet and your Maillard reaction. You don't get any smoke. You don't get the fat hitting the coals and kicking back up. It's just all texture. And most people are like, oh, but you put herbs in there, you put salt. And it's like, yeah, you do, but you don't. There's so much more that you can gain from the heat source. And obviously with barbecue, that's where kind of my preferences lie, with the wood and all that stuff. So yeah, I think it's good for certain things. And I'll do sous vide stuff every once in a while for maybe a big roast or a larger cut or something like that. But normally, maybe not my favorite way to cook.
Is there still a meat or a style or something that remains tough for you that you still feel like is a struggle? Or do you feel like the stuff that you're cooking, not just necessarily for the restaurant, but even in your own personal life when you're just cooking at home, are there things that you still find tough to master and that you struggle with?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've spent so much time working on cooking things that take a really, really long time. And then when you cook things that take a long time, you typically have a larger, window for error.
Mm-hmm.
A brisket takes 12 hours. And if it starts getting a little off track, you can bring it back and you can still finish at the point that you need to. So kind of more delicate things that cook faster, maybe like a fish on a grill or something like that. Or if it's something that cooks really fast, you have a really high margin of error. It's certainly more tricky, like smaller steaks and stuff like that. But I think, I would say maybe fish is probably my weakest cook.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, I love that it humanizes you, even though you're a very down to earth guy, and I've known that. As a matter of fact, I met you at the barbecue fest a couple of years ago, and you were bebopping along to your tent, and no one was really recognizing you, which I thought was ridiculous because we're standing in front of your tent, and you're kind of bebopping along.
Great.
Yeah, and I stopped you, and I'm like, hey, can we get a picture? And you go, yes, I have the best selfie arm in the business. And so you grabbed my phone and took a phenomenal selfie in one take, and you were gone. I loved it. It was beautiful.
Well, I have been gifted with abnormally long arms.
That's wonderful. All right, I have a weird, I've gotten to become a barbecue snob in a lot of ways. I like the high-end barbecue. I like when it's done correctly. I'm very critical when it's not done correctly, that kind of thing. But I have a weird fascination with the McRib. For some reason, even though we know it's not barbecue, it's not. We don't know what meat it is, but I just love the McRib. Do you have an odd food that someone of your stature shouldn't like but does?
I do, and well, I don't know if someone of my stature necessarily, but maybe not the highest quality food in the world, and it's not barbecue. But, man, I don't discriminate on any type of crispy taco.
Okay.
I love a beef crispy taco.
And see, to me, that's not even weird. Like, that's just
it doesn't seem that weird. I don't think it is.
No, it's not that strange. It's a good.
Where are you getting it from, though?
A good. Well, yeah. I mean, the question is, do you like a good crispy taco from like Taco Bell? See, that's a differentiated.
Absolutely,
no,
I do.
I love it.
And that's really what I mean.
Oh, God bless you. God bless you. I love that. No, that's fantastic. Oh, look, we even have the Taco Bell ding. They're one of the sponsors of the morning show. By the way, I did want to ask one really dumb question of you that it came from my boss and our morning show host who wanted to know if there's a difference between a sloppy Joe and a chopped beef sandwich.
I think so. Now, I don't know if this is correct. I'm totally spitballing here. A chopped beef would be chopped brisket, so you would have a fibrous texture in the meat. And I'm really specific. I don't like chopped beef that's been chopped with like a cleaver or a knife. I like to cut lean brisket off the flat, 1/4-inch slices, and then I like to take a dough cutter perpendicular and hand chop it and toss it and hand chop it and toss it.
Wow.
And to me, that is a chopped beef sandwich, with your preferred sauce or whatever. And then I feel like a sloppy Joe is made more out of ground meat with maybe a more tomatoey based sauce.
Can I just say you gave that question way more seriousness than it deserved? And I really appreciate that, because if you knew the idiot that asked that question, he's my boss, by the way, so I guess I probably shouldn't call him an idiot. But if you knew the guy that asked that question, you wouldn't have answered it with such seriousness. But that actually brings up something interesting, that you can have a different, like even chopped beef sandwiches can be different, because most of the time it's a cleaver and it's usually the fatty part of the brisket that they're chopping up. It's unusual to see.
Which is crazy to me. Why would you chop up the fatty part? That's the good part.
Well, I'm with you on
that.
It
depends. Tomato.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that. Now, my producer, on the other hand, who goes with me on a lot of my barbecue adventures, can't stand fatty brisket. So I don't know. I
will say texturally, though, for a chopped beef, I really do think lean is where it's at, because you get a better bark to interior meat ratio. And then the way a slightly overcooked brisket kind of pulls apart and then reabsorbs some of the sauce, I think it can be pretty magical.
You're the man. I love it. What a great answer. All right, let's see. I think we've covered everything, man. So you're feeling like like a week, maybe a little bit more than that, and you're going to be back up and running. Everything's going to be good. Is that what you're feeling like?
Yeah, I think we're going to be great. I think we're we've got some really good kind of rules in place to keep people safe, keep people feeling comfortable at work. The fellow that was sick is already feeling much better. He's pretty much back to normal. He was only kind of down for about 3 days. The test took 8 or 6 days to get back, so there's some lag time there. He's a dishwasher, wears a mask all the time, and he's around a bunch of sanitizers. So I feel pretty okay about it.
By the way, we had one question that's wanted us to ask you about left-handed brisket.
Oh, man. I don't think there's a difference at all between a right and a left. I actually prefer right-sided briskets. Well,
there you go. Asked and answered. Again, FranklinBBQ.com is his website. You can follow him on Twitter, but he doesn't tweet a whole lot. You can follow at Franklin BBQ if you want to follow the actual restaurant. Aaron himself isn't doing a lot of tweeting. He's kind of shut that down.
I tried to delete my account, but I forgot the password.
I'm going to guess it's barbecue. Did you try barbecue?
I have no idea. If you could figure it out, please let me know.
I will work on that. Aaron, you're the best, man. Thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good talking to you.
Hey, you too, and good luck. Hope things get back to normal as quickly as possible for you.
Oh, gosh, me too. Stay safe out there.
All right. Aaron Franklin BBQ, Austin,